All right, friends, we're going to get started. My goal this afternoon is to get you in and out in an hour. I really appreciate your time. So many of you came from these teams, and I want to honor your time, so thank you for coming. We're going to try to move through a couple things quickly. Just so you know, we're going to all start in here. There's 3 teams here, by the way. How many of you are greeters? Raise your hand. Awesome. How many of you serve in the cafe? Raise your hand. Some of you are pulling double duty. How many of you are ushers? Raise your hand. Right. Awesome. So all 3 teams are meeting together, and then we're going to break up, and Jamie's going to talk to the people in the cafe, Greg's going to talk to the greeters, and Roy's going to talk to the ushers. Some of you pull double duty. We can talk about where you're going to go. We are going to record all the sessions. I should stand in front of the camera for that purpose. We're going to record all the sessions so that if you miss one of them, we'll send you a link and you can check it out later. Also, this is for new people that are going to come. I know that at some point we're going to have new people on these teams, and we want them to have the same heart, the same understanding that we do. So that's why you're going to see cell phones recording today. Thanks for coming. Here's the big thing. Here's the big thing, and I'm going to say it a bunch of times today, is that we want to serve people on whatever team we're on so well that we make it easy for them to experience the love of Christ. That we make it easy for them to experience the love of Christ. Did you know that most people decide whether or not they're going to come back to a church within the first 3 minutes of walking in the building? Before the music starts, before anyone says anything, most people have already made a decision whether or not they're going to come back.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. That means that our role in greeting people and welcoming people is super important. All right? So we want to serve people so well that we make it easy for them to experience the love of Christ. Here's the thing. People matter to God. People matter to God. Can you think of a Bible story that doesn't have to do with God interacting with people? There may be 1 or 2, like if you get into like the heavenly realms. But the entire Bible is pretty much filled up with God's interaction with people. Let me give you 2 quick stories. Genesis chapter 11 is the Tower of Babel. What is the reason why they wanted to construct a building?
Reach heaven.
Reach the heaven, and you know what else?
To reach God.
Let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth. They had something so good going on that they didn't want to leave. They didn't want to share the goodness around the rest of the world. So what did God do? He scattered them. Changed the language, and it forced them to scatter. God's heart is for the entire world to know Him. God's heart is that everybody would know Him. One more example. Jesus. When He flipped over the tables, because the money changers were extorting people, and they were making profits off of people, what part of the temple was it in? Does anybody know? The outer courts. The people that were Gentiles by birth, the people that were not Jewish, where's the only spot that they could worship? In the outer courts. So in the very place that people who were far from God could go to pray and worship God was the very place that they were using for their own gain, and they made it impossible for them to experience the love of Christ. That's why Jesus was so upset, because He wanted everybody to know Him. All right, so we want to... Oh yeah, there it is. There's Jesus with the money changers. We want to serve people so well that we make it easier for them to experience the love of Christ. And here's the thing, is that there are people all around us that are hurting and that are broken. Can I just share with you? I'm going to skip around a little bit. This just came out this week. More Americans today are dying from alcohol, drugs, and suicide than ever recorded. Ever in our history, more people are feeling hopeless and lost and alone. And I don't know about you, but when I go to some place like the fireworks, I see a lot of people in our community that by outer appearances don't suggest that they go to any church. When I go to the public schools, I see a lot of people that it looks like they're experiencing some form of this. There are a lot of people in our community that don't know Jesus. I want to share with you, I shared this with the 3 leaders, and they said, can we watch this? This is from a sermon from a church called Elevation, and this is a little bit about what their heart is for new people that come, and I want you to check it out.
And I would teach this one-day principle like this. If this were the one day
say Luann or your person were to come to church, what would you want them to experience? Who would you want them to meet? And now it became really, really personal to me. You want to know the vision of our church so that people far from God would be raised to life in Christ. But it's not just a language, it's a lifestyle. Because we would teach it like this. If that were to happen, I would be up all night praying. See, my family lives in Minnesota. And if they were to come here, oh my gosh, it is a miracle. And I would be up all night praying. And I'd be saying, God, please move. Please move in their life because life is so chaotic. She doesn't know you and she needs you, God. And I get to this building early and I'd pray over every single seat in the auditorium. I'd anoint it with oil. I'd be speaking in tongues because I don't know which seat she's going to sit in. I don't know which seat's going to be the place of the miracle. I don't know what seat the shame is going to be washed away at. So I'm just going to pray over every single one of them. And then I'm going to go to the parking team and say, parking team, do you get it? My sister's coming. She's just like me. She has no patience. And if more than 3 cars get backed up, she's going to turn around and go home. And if she gets in an accident on the way home and dies, she's going to hell. And if that happens, I'm going to kill you. Then I'm going to go to the greeters. I'm going to say, greeters, do you get it? Because if you're talking to my sister, you're making her feel like everybody else thinks about her, what she feels about herself. Because she works in a job where she's at a trucking company and she's the safety enforcer. So she gets to talk to truckers all day long and tell them to stop driving. And if you're a trucker and you're not driving, you're expressing your displeasure in colorful ways. She gets cussed out all day long in the job and then comes home to a house where her and her husband look at each other and they go to opposite ends of the house. Because the reality is, you know how long it's been since she's seen somebody say to her, I'm glad to see you? Because in her honest moments, she would have tapped out long before, had it not just been for her little daughter, my niece Kaylin. But the greeters get it, and they make her smile, and they make you feel like you matter, and you're here today, and I love you. And they bring her in, and they take my niece to our E-Kids ministry. And my sister's world is spinning out of control, and the only thing she has is her daughter. And she's going to trust her to your hands? Man, you better speak in full sentences. You better have all your teeth. You better get down on a knee and look that little girl in the eye and say, God loves you. You are so beautiful. Because if you don't do that, my sister, whose life is spinning out of control, is going to feel like, how could I trust her to you? And if she brings her into the auditorium, her focus is on her daughter, not on the gospel. And we're not going to let that happen. But we're not just babysitting any kids. No, we're hiding the word of God, which will produce a harvest one day. And I leave that little girl sitting in the back seat, preaching the sermon, singing the songs. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. So she leaves her daughter and E-Kids, and then she meets one of her ushers that gets the privilege to walk my sister to a seat where her life is going to be changed. And the worship begins, and she starts to tear up because I don't even know what is going on inside of me, but something's happening because you are created in the image of God. There is an indelible mark that He has left on your heart that is always pulling you back to the Father. She cannot describe it, but she cannot stop it, and it's expressing itself through tears. And she's like, oh, could it be that there's something better? And then the gospel's preached. And Pastor Stephen gets up here, and he stands here, and he declares Jesus Christ crucified, died, buried, and resurrected for the forgiveness of sins. And my sister at the end says, could it be? That's what I've been looking for my whole life. And if my sister's coming to church, that's what I want her one day experience to be like. My sister, Luann, who is it for you in that line? Make it personal.
So I'm going to ask you that question. For me, it's my neighbor. My neighbor Chris. Some of you may have seen him. He's a big guy. Corey works with him. Big guys, full tattoos. Kind guy, but he doesn't know Jesus. And Abby and I have invited him to church a few times. And you know what his response is? I don't have the clothes. I don't have the clothes to come to church. And I've tried to talk to him. Corey said the same thing. You don't need to get dressed up. But my prayer is that one day, whenever he comes here, maybe it's for Easter another time, my prayer is that he would encounter people that have that mindset. That they are so excited to welcome somebody new. That they're so excited to see someone come in so that they can experience the love of Christ. So my question for you, and I want you to turn to people around you, who is it for you? Like if you were to make it personal, who is it that you would be praying for and that you would hope that they would experience the love of Christ if they walked in these doors? Go ahead and turn to the people around you and answer that question.
Karen. Because of
All right, I bet you that all of us have somebody that we know that we want to experience that kindness and the love of Christ. Here's the thing. It's always dangerous when you ask. Here's the thing. The only way that's going to happen is if we're more focused on the people that are coming than the tasks that we have to do. Jamie and Craig and Roy, they're going to share with you tasks that we have to do. But our first priority is people. Our first priority is people. Let me give you an example. If the goal of the greeters was just to pass out a bulletin, we could put the bulletin on a table when people walk in and they could pick it up when they walk in. So if you're a greeter, your job isn't to hand out a bulletin. Your job is to welcome people into the family of God. Your job is to welcome people into the community of God. When they feel like they're welcomed here, then they're excited to be here. If you're someone in the cafe, your job is to welcome people, let them know where things are. That's a great time to let people know what time things happen, where the bathroom is, maybe even like how long the service goes. The more questions you can answer for them that they're wondering, the more you can put their mind at ease and they can experience what God wants to do in their lives. Same thing with the ushers. The more that you're intentional when someone walks in. I saw it happen today. Someone walked in and I could tell they were looking around. You seen that eye, the look in people's eyes? Trying to figure out where am I going to sit or where's my friend. This lady came from 2 hours away or so and was looking for her aunt, and she had the look in her eye, where am I going to sit? And so I went over and started talking to her. The more that you can help people get connected, even a place to sit, the more that they can feel free to experience the love of Christ. Isn't that the goal from all of our teams? Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so a couple things. We want to serve, I'm going to say it again, we want to serve people so well that we make it easy for them to experience the love of Christ. That means we're going to take care of their needs, and we're going to help eliminate whatever distractions that they might have. If you see a mom coming in with like 3 kids and help me, Tracy. A carrier. My brain is fried from those. Don't stand at the door like with a bulletin, run outside and offer to give her a hand. Right? How unkind would it be to say, come on, hurry up, get in here. Let's be forward and look for people. Here's another thing that I want you to think of is I want you to recall a time when you went someplace new. Someplace for the first time. Maybe it was a school, a bank, a store, and maybe you didn't even know where to go. And I want you to think about that for a second and then share. Well, I'll tell you a story, and then I want you to think about it. I walked into the Millersburg Ministerium meeting. I think it was my second time. It's out at Calvary Wesleyan, so it's a building I've never been in before. And they're all pastors in this room, right? I walk in, and this is what happens, is that a couple pastors are talking. They look over to see who came in, and then guess what they do? They go right back to their conversation with their friend. I'm a new pastor in town. I barely met these people, and this is what happened. They went back to their conversation, except for one person, Rick Anderson. Love Rick Anderson. He made it a point. He got up right away, walked over, introduced himself, said, come sit with me. And you know what that did? It put my mind at ease. It made me feel like I'm welcome here. I know what's going on. I've got a friend here. If no one else greeted me, I would have felt out of place and unwelcomed. So I want you to take a second, think about, have you ever had an experience like that where you walked into someplace new and you didn't know what it was like? And I'll, instead of turning to your neighbor, because this could be forever, who's got a story where they were like, I didn't know what was going on? Tracy?
We went to my dad's church when we were out in Arizona around Thanksgiving time, and it just made me so thankful for Hillside. I don't know that one person said hello to us. We came in and we sat down, and it was a long way in.
Yeah,
it was
it's a big church.
Yeah, and everyone, like you said, they might look to see who was coming in, but not a single person said hello.
And my father-in-law attends that church, and nobody said anything to him either.
And he's attended for like 10 or 15 years.
Wow. Now, what was the emotion that you felt when no one said anything to you?
Thankfulness for this place.
Yes, exactly. We both looked at each other at the same time. We're like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful for our church.
That's awesome.
And to not ever let anyone feel that way walking into our church.
Yeah. Warren, you had your hand up?
Yeah, when I was camping one time, I thought, well, I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out to the church. It's right around the corner here, just to attend the church, because there's no other church real close there. So I had camping clothes on. I figured, I had jeans on, but it wasn't all dressed up. I walked into the church, and everybody around me has on suits and ties and dresses and hats. And they look at me, they see me coming in. I looked at them, they turned their head back. were very stiff and starchy.
They didn't even move
They-
when you come in the room.
No, they didn't even move to let me move into the road.
Oh my goodness.
I sat down and it was like, the whole time it was like everybody's like glancing over like a new person here. You're very, very uncomfortable, not welcome at all. No, nobody even said anything till after the service was over. One person said hi to me on the way out. That was about it. So it was like,
People were
yes.
leaving.
Now I want you to think about thankfully you know the Lord, and that's the
Yes.
story you can look back on. Like that's not the way to do it. But imagine the person that I just asked you to think about. Imagine them coming into church and not being greeted and maybe treated that way, where they're glanced at, where people are looking at them, not even letting them in the rows. What's going to happen?
I know. I said,
They're never going to come back, and they might write off church. They might write off Jesus. And I'm not saying like we're responsible for their salvation either way, but I am saying that we need to be on the lookout for people that are coming in. We need to be over the top welcoming the people. All right, so a couple of things is look for someone who's new, and you can tell who's new often by the look in their eyes. They don't know where things are. They're looking around. Where's the bathroom? Where do I drop off my kids? Where do I go? So look for people that are new, and then make it a point to just have a conversation with them. Here's the big thing. Prioritize them over your friends. Prioritize them over your friends. We all do this. We really enjoy one another, and we want to spend a lot of time talking with each other. But if you see someone new, I really would encourage you to just pause that conversation and make it a point to go over them and say hi and greet them. And then you can call your friend later on in the week. You can talk to them later on. But I hope that this is a place that all of us feel okay. Like if we're talking and all of a sudden you pause because you're going to greet someone new, I'm happy for that. I'm not offended that you stopped talking to me. I am happy that you went and prioritized someone new. So prioritize people that are new. A couple last things, and then before we break up, is that we're going to try to have a handoff process when people come in. The big thing, there's a simple saying, is that when you confuse, you lose. When you confuse, you lose. When people are confused as to what's happening and where to go, then mentally it taxes their brain and it stresses them out, and they don't really want to be there. So what we're going to try to do is that we're going to try to have the greeters available. If someone new comes in, they are available to walk someone new over to the cafe. Or if they have kids, over to the children's check-in station, and then the kids people are going to be ready to help them get checked in and show them where the classes are and explain where the kids go and all that kind of stuff. But that they're welcomed over to the cafe, and then whoever the host is, Jamie or whoever, they're there not just setting up coffee and pastries and fruit. They're there to actually look for new people. So if it's Craig would say, Jamie, this is Paul. It's Paul's first time here, and you would introduce them, and then they could have a conversation. And Jamie could look for people that are sitting around the cafe and say, Paul, have you met Ron and Tracy? And that they could start a conversation. That way, we're not going to force people to go, but at least that they have an option, that they know that there's always a connection point with someone. And then we're going to look for the ushers, one or two ushers to come in into the cafe before the cafe closes. And again, they could be a handoff person where Jamie could say, Paul, here's Roy. Roy will help you get in the sanctuary. He'll help you find a seat if you like. Roy can take him in, can find him a good spot in the sanctuary. That way there's never a point where someone's walking around wondering, where am I going? What's going on? And along that way, you can have a conversation with them and say, hey, we usually sing for about half an hour, 45 minutes. We really don't have a strict schedule that we follow. We try to be open to whatever the Holy Spirit's leading us to do. The kids get dismissed, and then we have a time of teaching and impartation for 45 minutes to an hour, and then we wrap things up. Just so that they know what's going on. That way they're not always checking their watch. What is going on? Is it time to go yet? So the more that we can make it easy for people and clear for people, then the more at ease they'll be. A couple things that we're going to work on is that we're going to make name tags, not with your name, but just like cafe, usher, greeter. And that's not, the only reason that's there is so that people know who to go to if they have a question. There's someone who looks official that can help me out if I have a question. So those are coming. By the way, my parents were telling me that they went to a church last week. There were two people at the door of a church that said, welcome, and they didn't even say anything to them.
That said it all.
That said it all. They were too busy talking with each other to pay attention to the new people that were there. So that's not, your name tag is not to do the job of talking to people. It's just there in case someone has a question. Those are going to be in the little desk. What's that thing called, Jackie? Where we put stuff on. The what? The buffet. The buffet. Those will be in there. And then Jamie had this good idea. He said, it would make sense if everybody knows who else is on that week. So in there, where your name tags will be, is going to be information. Like next week, Raymond and Erica are on for the cafe. Paul and Werner, you're on for greeting next week. And then the ushers are Joel, Vaughn, Nate, and Keys. And so you'll know who to look for on that week. It'll be right in there with your name tag. One other thing that's coming is that we're going to be updating the welcome packet. It hasn't been updated in a long time.
10 years.
Yeah.
I hope we don't have any of them candy bars left over.
We don't. We don't. So we're going to be updating that. It's going to have information for people that are new here as well as next steps. Like after you've been coming for a while, here's information about life groups and about how to serve in a ministry, baptism and membership. And all that will be both in there as well as on our website. So those are some of the things that's coming. Do you have any questions for me before we break up into your specific groups?
Can I share a very short story pertaining to what we're talking about? When I, in my early 20s, I used to attend Christ Community Church. And when I started attending there was, and there was an amazing man that went there named Bob Klinger.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy, he gave people hugs like you were his son. I mean, literally. This guy had like a peace and a presence from God. And I don't know how comfortable you are with hugging people, but I was kind of, just kind of coming into the church, and I had long hair, and and I was like, I didn't like push him away, but I was like, okay, this is okay. But I just received so much from him. Just that this guy was like so enthused to see me. It was maybe a little over the top, but he was just so kind and loving, and gave me like this warm, heartfelt, fatherly hug. So if you can do that, I mean, people are coming here and they're getting the love of God, that they need a father and a mother or something. Like, James is talking about broken people. So to whatever degree you can embrace people, go for it.
Absolutely.
I'd like to say one thing, some words that James said this morning, very key. He is not a greeter. He is not an usher. He is not a cafe. Remember these words? He said, when I saw. He's not on any of those committees, but he said, when I saw, I went over. That's what we want eventually, the whole congregation to be involved in. Those are key words. When I saw there was a need, you met it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, when, I just put everyone on the spot. Like, if you're in the cafe, there's no on and off duty. I mean, you're on duty.
Amen.
I mean, if someone new comes in and I'm busy with a new person, you're on duty. Go up, talk to them, embrace them,
Absolutely. One of Craig's biggest things is that even if it's not your week, still be looking for people that are new.
Amen.
Okay.
It's in the class.
Yes. Dan, I appreciate that. That enthusiasm is contagious. Just one thought with that is that some people don't want physical touch. And
Right.
You're, just look for those signs.
Well, he
They're backing up.
didn't ask me, he just did it. So,
Yeah.
whatever.
Just look at their body language and see, are they open to that? I think that's a great standard unless you see that they don't want to be touched.
Right.
One last thought, and I'm going to point out 3 of the elders that are in this room. I love one thing about our church is that we are not stuffy. The old usher manual and greeter manual talked about the appearance that we were supposed to have, and it was like suit and tie. It's crazy. So we got Roy's in a dress shirt and dress slacks. Craig's in a nice sweater and jeans. Damien and I are in t-shirts and jeans. Here's the thing about your appearance. We don't really care what level of dress you are. Just look like you're ready to go out for the day. Not to Walmart at 2 a.m, but like you're ready to welcome people. So take mind of your appearance. I don't really think it's an issue with anybody here. You guys do a great job about that. All right, that's it. So we're going to break up into groups. The people that serve in the cafe are going to meet in the cafe with Jamie, and then the greeters are going to meet in the foyer with Craig, and the ushers are going to meet in the sanctuary with Roy. And if you need to know where you're going to go because you're on double duty, come talk to me and I'll help you get set up. Thank you for coming.